Good day, sir and classmates. We are the reporter of educational placement of students with special needs. I am Almirol and my partner is Kristen May Garcia. Objectives. Discuss the process in conducting placement in special and inclusive education and assess appropriate educational placement for a specific learner. So, before we start our discussion, we prepared a activity. So, direction is challenge your mind, jot down at least 10 terms that you can remember or can be associated with the word assessment. Write it inside the box. So, you can pass your answer in me or in Christine May. So, importance of assessment. Before I discuss about the importance of assessment in special education, I will discuss first assessment in special education. The assessment in special education is a process that involves collecting information about the student for the purpose of making decision. So, the importance of assessment should never be underestimated in special education. You will work with any professional from different fields. You are part of a team often referred to as a multidisciplinary team that tries to determine what any disabilities present in a student. No matter which type of professional you become in the field of, of special educations, it is always necessary to fully kanang masabtan ang assessment process and to be able to clearly communicate vital information to professionals, parents, and sa mga estudyante. Also, the importance of assessment in special education is to help teacher understand what the students know and decide what next step will be. Because as a teacher, you have enough knowledge to determine the child, you have enough discipline to know the student problems. The development of these skills should include a good working knowledge of following components of assessment process in order to determine the presence of a suspected disability. First is collection, analysis, evaluation, determination, and recommendation. Collection. The process of tracing and gathering information from the many sources of background information on a child, such as school records, observation, parent intakes, and teacher reports. And multiple sources of information are required because the individuals with disabilities education doesn't consider a single produce or a group administered instruments such as large scale tests enough to diagnose a disability. For example, ang imuhang bata na nakuha ng background information or is about school records, observation, parent intakes, and teacher reports kay na siya special needs. Na kay na i-diagnose ang bata, diagnose a disability. Kung man mo diagnose ang bata kung nabi siya disability is makaplan ka og appropriate educational program for the child. Pag human niya plan para sa appropriate educational program para sa bata is ma-determine ninyo if unsa ang special education or related services the child might need, kung unsa ang needs sa bata or sa unsa needs sa ka special education na bata. Instead, full of individual conducted on a child will collect data related to his health, sa iyang communicating skills, sa iyang communicating status, and other collection to help the teacher to how have information about the student. So next is analysis. So the processing and understanding of a patterns in the child educational, social, developmental, environmental, medical, and emotional history. So, in addition also is analysis is to the variety of approaches used to collect data for analysis such as mag-interview ng isa ka bata or mong observeran, assessment and test. So in this components of assessment process will help the teacher to understand and analyze the pattern of a child when where the student feeling or comfortable. So so, so way back in our elementary days, so I have a classmate that have a special needs. So, hina iyang learning o gusto niya, hina iyang learning pero gusto siya maka-honor or makadawat siya mental. So, ang giwat sa among teacher is, ato is iyang gisabot kung unsa niya, isaon niya to ako ang classmate. So, iyang gipangutana why gusto niya makaroon og medal or gusto niya magka-honor kay because gusto lang niya ma-happy siya. So, gusto lang niya ma-happy siya or ma-impress niya yung parents na nakakuha siya medal. So, pamaagi to is nasabtan sa ako ang teacher ang isa ka child na special need. So, next is evaluation. The evaluation of a child academic, intellectual, psychological, emotional, perceptual, language, cognitive, and medical development in order to determine areas of strength and weakness. Evaluation is according to IDEA also requires that school use technically sound instruments and processes. So So, ID, IDEA is Individual with Disability Educational Act. So, technically sound instruments are those assessments that have been shown be valid and reliable through research for assessment and other evaluation materials to qualify as a technically sound process. They must be administered by knowledge and the train. So, ganun evaluation is gagamit sila emotional ang ilang language o ang cognitive para mabalaan ang ilahang strength and weaknesses. So next is determination. So the determination of the presence of suspected disability and the knowledge of the criteria that constitute each category. So such as a determination is followed by recommendation related to the educational placement and program that need to be out of the parents, teacher, and the school. So next is recommendation. So the recommendation concerning educational placement and program that need to be made to the school teachers and parents. So ang recommendation is kani muna ang program na dapat buhaton sa school nakauban ang teacher against parents. So, whether the child is have a particular category of disability or the child present levels of performance at school and his or her academic and developmental needs. So, whether the child requires special education and related services. So, while addition or motivation if ana may be needed in the special education and related service. So, provided the child qualifies to enable the child to meet the goals set out in his own and her IEP. So, IEP will be discussed to our next slide. So, mura to ang five components of assessment. So next is the purpose of assessment. So assessment in educational setting serves 5 primary purposes. So first is screening and and identification, eligibility and diagnosis, IEP, development and placement, instructional planning, evaluation. So, first is screening and identification. To screen child and identify those who may be experiencing delay or learning problem. So this purpose of assessment and screening and identification is kanang may bala na to kung kinsa ang mga bata na ang ilang na sila learning problem or kanang iwit ilahang pagduon. So para sa ako ang classmate sa grade 1, so edad ko 6 na grade 1 tapos siya kay na siya ata sa 15 or pato siya nag-eskwela kay gabalik-balik siya sa grade 1 kay iyang learning is delay. So na siya special education needs. Next is eligibility and diagnosis. To determine whether a child has a disability and is eligible for special education services and to diagnose the specific nature of the student problem or disability. So, ang eligibility is kani siya is collect of information collected and the assessment process can be provide detailed information of whether a child is eligible for special education service. So, ang diagnosis naman is detailed information of the specific nature of the student problems or disability. So, IAP development and placement is to provide detailed information so that an individualized educational program or IEP may be developed and appropriate decision may be made about the child educational and placement. So ang AAP is maybe mauni ang development. So this is the purpose is kanang mag-help sa mga bata na ma-develop sila og maplanuhan kung unsay dapat para ana na bata kanang appropriate jud para sa iyaha or makaya niya buhaton. So instructional planning to develop and plan instruction appropriate to the child's special need. So it is critical so in planning instruction, so it is appropriate to the child's special social and academic and physical and management needs. So ang kaning instructional planning is kaning mao po na siya ang ga-help po sa student to ma-develop kung ang ilahang mga physical or academic learning. Tapos dapat po planuhan jud ni siya na para kung unsa jud ang para dapat sa bata or appropriate sa mga bata na nay mga special need. So evaluations, evaluate student progress. So kanang evaluation is diri na pagman yung planning, instructional or nahatag na ang unsa dapat sa or appropriate pala sa bata is ma-evaluate na ninyo kung ang isa ba ka bata is sa progress ba. Og dili pod may bal-an nato ang ilahang mga strength and weakness or an overall progress. Next is common assessment and special education includes. So first is individual intelligence test. As the name suggests, individual intelligence tests are administered to students one-on-one. So this individual intelligence test can help a educator assess a student's needs and understand how the student can be expected to perform academically. So next is which learn intelligence skills of children WISC. So the school psychologists usually administer the tests which measure a student intelligence in a variety of areas including linguistic and spatial intelligence. So this is a norm-based test, so meaning na the student case performed is measured against the performance of a student at various grade levels. So next is Stanford Binet intelligence skills are derived from the Binet-Simon test. The school psychologists of special education team administer the test, which like the WIC is also norm referred. So kani siya na test is the question are designed to help ang educators na differentiate between student performing below grade level because of cognitive disabilities and those who do so for other reason.